I'm going to sort of do this kind of casually. I was here last time your group gathered when Walker Stapleton spoke. And, you know, the funny thing is I met with Brian, I think it was January 4th, actually. I got on his calendar this year and started just kind of updating him on what was going on in my life, and I'll touch on a little bit of that. And Brian said, hey, would you like to speak at the Opportunity Coalition? And at that time, and Kyle, I don't remember where you guys were in setting the calendar, but it was pretty wide open. And I said, okay, let's do the March, whatever today's date is. This date will work well for me. It'll give me enough time to, to prep and come up with that. I went to Syracuse. The NCAA tournament is going on. So I looked, and they don't play until tomorrow, so I'm good on that front. St. Patrick's Day, bad weather, and all that. I picked probably the worst date of any of these dates to come out and speak. But I will tell you this. It was probably after coming last weekend, or a few weeks ago, and hearing Walker, I go, yeah, well, he went to Harvard, did he not, Walker? He did, yes, Harvard educated. I'm Syracuse educated. So in communication, so I was feeling a little intimidated, and immediately after that, after I walked out of here, I called Holly and I called Byron. I said, we need to bring in some reinforcements here. I don't want to stand up here and tell everybody what's going on with me. And as we started sort of developing an agenda, a very loosely free-flowing agenda, as you will see, I figured there weren't two better people that I have been associated with to bring up here to talk about what I think is some really interesting things that are happening in media and specifically broadcasting. Again, I guessed on everybody's number of decades doing what we've done for a living. Mm-hmm. I've got 22 years of experience, 20 of those at two different television stations. Holly, number of TV stations, do you even want to admit it?
8.
No. 8.
8.
Byron?
I don't want to admit it.
I wouldn't admit it. I wouldn't admit it either. So again, while I did pick the worst date to stand up here and be with you folks, I promise you this, we'll provide some really great content for you. And again, our agenda tonight is really to keep it wide open, interrupt us at any point, ask anything that you want to ask, and we'll do our best to answer it and do our best to at least take what's probably 80 plus years of experience and tell you just a little bit about what we know about broadcasting, where it's going, where it's been, and all that good stuff. My story is born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. Grew up as one of, I've got 3 younger sisters, so I guess that's one of 4. A tennis-playing family from St. Louis. And ended up, 3 of my sisters moved out to Colorado. And I stayed in St. Louis. After going to Syracuse, I went back. I started my career doing media buying and planning in St. Louis, which is a great title and a great way of saying I made $14,000 my very first year out of Syracuse. I looked like I was 12 years old and was working for an advertising agency, getting ready to go on a presentation to Edison Brothers, which owned Rep Limited, Big and Tall. It was a retail company in St. Louis. And they looked at this 12-year-old, I wasn't 12, but they looked at this guy that looked like he was 12 years old, and they stopped me at the elevator and they said, look, after you give this presentation, I was giving a presentation to the director of marketing for Edison Brothers, this gigantic company. I was wearing one of 2 suits that I owned. I was wearing the one suit that I owned. Let's be honest about that. And they said, look, John, and I was literally a $5 an hour intern at that point, giving this huge presentation. They said, after this, once we get back to the office, we're going to put you on salary. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. That's great. The salary was $14,000. It was actually worse than the $5 an hour deal that I had at that point. Plus, I think I had trade for a gym membership, so that added another $200 to the mix. It was, I describe it as the greatest use experience. I mean, they used me a little bit because they got me at $14,000, but I took $14,000 and just all of the experience that I could get. So it was an awesome experience for me. But after making $14,000, it's the last time I'll say $14,000, and living at home, it was time to jump to the sales side of the equation. And I went to work for the ABC television station in St. Louis. I grew up, if you would have asked me what I was going to do when I was growing up, I would have told everybody I'm going to be a lawyer. LA Law was really big at the time on NBC. I was watching LA Law. I'm going, this is great. They're all dressed nice. They're in suits. Nobody seems to be working really hard. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm sorry, how many lawyers do we have in the audience, by the way? Okay, sorry. Am I off base, John, or am I okay? Okay, all right, so there we go. But I went to Syracuse because I wanted to study communications. I was from St. Louis. Bob Costas, my idol, went to Syracuse. You knew that he went to Syracuse. Okay. So I applied for the communications program at Syracuse. I did not get in. I took an alternative offer of admission to go to the economics program, and then I interned with the CBS affiliate up there and a contemporary hits radio station in Syracuse, and loved the quote business side of this business. These guys have worked with a ton of on-air talent. They'll tell you a little bit about that. That was not me. I had no passion to be on air. As you can tell after listening to me for 5 minutes, yeah, I have no business being on air or doing any of that. But I loved the business side of it. I went back to St. Louis because that's where my quote-unquote connections were. And again, went to work for an advertising agency and then finally jumped over to the ABC station in St. Louis. I was young. I looked even younger than I was, and I moved up the chain very, very quickly. I was a national sales manager at age 27, handling 40% of our station's billing. I then moved up to the VP of sales role a few years after that, and moved up to $18 million worth of billing, which when you start off making $14,000 and now you're tasked with handling $18 million, I mean that was a pretty good ascension through a short period of time. The problem for me was I had 3 younger sisters that all lived in Colorado. I don't know if I assume we have nobody from St. Louis in the audience. We do. Where did you live in St. Louis? The poor side of Ladue. Okay, I was in the rich side of Ladue. No, I'm kidding. Okay, we should talk. We lived off of Dealman Road. Okay. Oh my God, my general manager lived in Covington. It was number 6 Covington Lane. My mom lived right down the road from where you were on Dealman. By the way, that's not really the poor. It is sort of the poor side of Ladue. No, it's not. It's not that bad. Yeah, no, I 2 subdivisions comprise Covington. I know it very well. And now I totally forgot what I was saying. But my problem was, as you can attest to, the St. Louis summers are brutal. The winters aren't that much fun. And when you have 3 sisters that are out here skiing every weekend and hiking and biking and doing all the fun stuff out here, and I would call, what are you doing, John? Just stop calling us. You know you're going to be mad at what we're doing while I'm back in St. Louis. I finally got my dream opportunity in 2008 to come out to Denver. I call it my dream opportunity. It's probably better aptly put as I interviewed with every general manager in the market at some point, and somebody finally said yes. They finally said yes, and I came out to work for Tribune Broadcasting, which owned KWGN Channel 2 in the Tech Center. The kicker was KWGN was going to merge with Fox 31, the Fox affiliate. So I took probably what was the greatest risk of my life. I say this to a group of entrepreneurs as I'm learning a lot about entrepreneurship. This was the first big risk that I took. My wife and 3-year-old and 1-year-old stayed in St. Louis while I flew out to Colorado Monday through Friday, flew back Friday night, flew back out Monday morning, and did that from April through December 31st of that year. The kicker was, as working for Tribune that was merging with local TV, and they're going to put these 2 stations together, the reason why it was a risk was with consolidation. As the VP of sales for Channel 2, there was a vice president of sales for Channel 31. One of us was going to remain standing at the end of the day. I was fortunate enough to be the one that remained standing. So I'm flying back and forth from Denver to St. Louis every single week, not knowing whether I've got a long-term position out here. That was my passion for Colorado, how badly I wanted to be where all of you folks live, how badly I wanted to come out and ski and live the lifestyle that I was willing to stop a what was a very decent career in St. Louis to come all the way out here, not knowing whether I would have a job at the end of the day. My MO was, hey, put your head down, work as hard as you can, and good things will happen. The harder you work, the luckier you get, et cetera, et cetera. I was very, very fortunate. I was the one that was tasked with putting the sales operation together for Channel 2 and 31. I worked for a company called Local TV, a phenomenal company to work for. They were in it for a 5-year play. They were funded by a private equity firm. So they bought these stations and said, we're going to flip them in 5 years. And I had a terrific career working for those guys. Best company that I've ever worked for, which is kind of interesting because my thing was, oh my gosh, we're going to work for private equity guys that want to flip this thing. Like, this isn't going to be a good run. It was a great run. It was an absolutely unbelievable run. Our CEO, and Holly, you were there afterwards, I believe.
After.
Okay. Our CEO was absolutely phenomenal. Turned out to be a mentor to me in business. And I don't ever expect to work for anybody as great as the guy that ran Local TV. Local TV sold. You're gonna have to help me with the date. Sold the stations right before you got there. I was
gonna say again after.
After, okay. And once again, we were back working for Tribune, which was a great company to work for. So let's fast forward the story so I can get on to why I've got these guys up here. And now, Holly, you actually are part of this. You and I are now working for the same company. In March of, and I'm living my dream, by the way. I'm out in Denver. I'm the vice president of sales for Fox 31 and KWGN Channel 2. Anybody that interviews with me that wants to come to work for, that says, look, I really want to move out here, I made it very clear. You can come to work for us, but realize you have to work really hard, because while you think it's your dream to come work here, I am living my dream. I'm absolutely living my dream. I flew back and forth from St. Louis. I made it through that. I'm working at the corner of 6th and Spear. You've been in my office. It's not a bad office.
No.
It's not. There's a wall of TVs. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I'm in Colorado. I'm going up to Breckenridge every other weekend. We've got a great team. I mean, the best thing about working at Fox was we have a great team of people that we worked with. So again, germane to my story, I'm living my dream. In March of 2015, our general manager at the time, who was a terrific guy, who was, I think, 70 years old. About 70 years old.
Peter?
Peter.
Yeah.
He was 70 years old. In a department head meeting in one Thursday in March, walks in and says, hey folks, I just notified the corporate office that I'm going to retire. He was 70 years old. I mean, this was not like a shocking revelation. But now I'm really living my dream, because what I really want to do is I really want to replace Peter as the general manager. So I did everything to Peter, it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful. I mean, in the meanwhile, I can't wait to get back to my office, call our corporate folks and say, okay, I'm ready to take over Peter's job. I mean, Peter, it's been great to work for you. I was hoping you were going to retire months ago because I'm dying to do this. No, I mean, you can't say any of that stuff. But Holly's kicking me under the table. She knows it's true. I waited till 2 o'clock that afternoon to call one of our corporate officers and say, look, I just heard the news about Peter. Tell me what I need to do. I absolutely want to replace him. And
Hey, John.
Yes.
I called at 1 o'clock. Sorry.
1 o'clock.
I didn't realize.
That might explain a couple reasons why they didn't get back to me.
I was in Chicago having lunch with him.
Yeah, exactly. And it was, this is what I literally for 22 years had done for, and what I literally, look, I'm the guy that maps everything out. You do this, and then you want to go do this, and then you're going to go do this. You're going to continue to work hard and deliver results, and along the way, great things are going to happen. So finally, after I think 2 years of putting arsenic in his coffee, finally he goes, okay, I'm out. I'm going. Terrific. I'm in. This is going to be awesome. And by the way, the reason it was going to be awesome was we We had an unbelievable team. So when I say it was it was the dream opportunity, it was really the dream opportunity to come in and work with just a terrific group of people in a situation where I couldn't screw it up. I had great department heads there. No way I could screw it up. I made the call at 2 o'clock. They're like, well, we've already talked to Byron. He called at 1. I said, that's fine. We're killing that station anyway. So yeah, I'm the one that you want to talk to. I don't think that's true, actually. I'm sure it's not.
I'll show you an audit.
Yeah, I know. We got a few audits. I don't want to go there.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And the message was, John, keep your head down. This is going to be a long process. I work for Tribune Broadcasting. Tribune has 42 stations across the United States. A great company to work for, by the way. But a long process. And meanwhile, I'm chomping at the bit. My dream is here, but it's going to be a long process. Sports analogies, you either love them or hate them. I've driven 95 yards in my career. I've got 5 yards to put the ball into the end zone. That's where I am. That's where I am in March. Okay, fine. April comes and goes. May, June, July. We bring an interim general manager in to just sort of assess things. Circa day June-ish. The months keep going on. They go on. And let's fast forward to, when were we in Chicago? October. We're in Chicago in October, doing a budget meeting, and we sit down. I said, look, this is my vision for this station, all that good stuff. Fast forward to November. There's a conversation that takes place in November that says, look, John, we want to bring somebody in from the outside. I said, okay, trying to figure out how to do this. This is my dream. I can't say this enough. This is my dream. This is my really big dream. We want to bring somebody in from the outside. I said, well, I don't agree with that, but I understand. I mean, I do understand. When your general manager leaves in March and you're in November and you haven't been given the nod, subconsciously you're sort of like getting, like you're figuring this out month after month after month. And it's either a really big power of denial, or you just don't want to deal with it, or you just want to stay positive and go, hey, I'm still in the game. I'm still gonna, I'm still there. I'm still gonna get this thing. But once they said in November, hey, we're going to bring somebody else in, I said, okay, again, I understand that. It's not what I want to hear, but I do appreciate it. And then we started really having some significant conversations about what I wanted to do next and all that good stuff. And for somebody that had been on a path and had been really driven towards something for 22 years, what I would describe as a very sort of calm, peaceful feeling came over me. By the way, I am not the calm, peaceful person. My life is lived up here. I run at, Holly will tell you, I run at a pretty fast pace, Mach whatever it is. But a peaceful calm came over, and it was just time to go. It was time to do something different. Which is, I'm going to pause for dramatic purposes because the Broncos were headed towards the Super Bowl in postseason play. We had a suite at the Broncos. So, okay, I'm going to go do something different. So I'm not going to be in the suite at the Broncos. I just gotten back from taking 16 client couples to Greece. I'm going, okay, I'm going to go do something different. Meaning, I had all of the trappings that came with a phenomenal opportunity, a phenomenal operation at Fox 31. And for the first time in my life, I was 44 then, I turned 45 in February. I'm going, all right, if you bring somebody else in, that's going to sort of cap me where I am. I can't do a great cap, by the way. No complaints. But I'm 44, and there's a lot more that I want to go do. And it was time to jump, and it was time to jump off the cliff. And so I jumped off the cliff. December 31st was my last day. I told all this to Brian. He said, "Well, you have to come speak at the Opportunity Coalition." I said, "I'm happy to do it." I said, "Brian, I don't think it's that different of a story or that great of a story that anybody else has had. I don't think it's that great. That's why I brought these two to talk about all the other stuff to entertain you, because I don't think it's that different from you're not going to be able to write a book on my story. It's the same story that's happened to probably some people here, a lot of people, a lot of other people out there. But it was time to jump and time to do something different. It was time to go, look, I have an entrepreneurial spirit. I'm going to take advantage of that. I have a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old. And again, all of the great trappings of everything that came with a terrific opportunity. Again, the peaceful calm sort of comes over you and you go, you know what? I'm going to go bet on myself. I'm going to go do it. It also helps when you have a lot of people going, oh, John, you'll do great. You'll do great. You'll do all of this stuff. So we parted on amicable terms, and just said it's time to go do something different. So what I did was I immediately formed an LLC. I thought this was going to be the most daunting task. How many people in here have formed LLCs? Like every single hand is going to go up. I thought this was going to be the hardest thing. It was done by 6:30 one morning. By the way, I started the process at 6:15 in bed on a laptop. I think I even overpaid. I did legal Zoom. I'm sure I overpaid for it. It was a much easier way to do it. The URL on GoDaddy was $7. I think I have it for 4 years. By the way, when John introduced me as Team 365, we've actually even changed the name since 6:15 that morning to 360. So it's not like it's our business to grow your business every day. Now it's like it's our business to grow your. We'll do it every day, but it's 360. It's more of an all-around approach. So I guess what I'm up here saying is, after a path that took me 22 years, I've jumped into some of the waters that a lot of you folks swim in every single day. It's an exhilarating feeling. It's an exhilarating process. It's a scary process, although for somebody that deals with anxiety different ways, different times, I haven't had any of those anxious feelings. I really haven't. And I'm having a lot of fun with it, an absolute lot of fun with it. But I'm captivated by, really not my story, by getting to meet a lot of you people. You and I have talked, Kyle, on several occasions, and listening to some of the stories of what a lot of you folks have done, it inspires me. It absolutely inspires me. And again, I've got the motivation, I've got the drive, I've got all that good stuff that you need. I have a partner in St. Louis that has a slogan. My slogan is, or the thing that I put behind my company is, it's our business to grow your business. What hers is, which I love, and I would have stolen it from her, but I still might steal it. It's think big. Think big. Hold on, I got to get this right. Think big, act small, move fast. And let me make sure I've got that, but I think I've got it. I turned my phone off. I think I've got that right. I love think big, act like a small company, but more than anything, move fast and go and get things done. I'm somebody that gets things done. I execute. I mean, I'm into analytics, I'm into strategy, I'm into execution. I absolutely think you have to have all three of those things. What I'm also finding is somebody that's terrible with patience is it takes time to build. And so again, that's why I'm more inspired by what a lot of you folks have done and what a lot of you folks continue to do with companies that you've started. It's a fun process. It's a scary process. I get up every day. I'm completely energized. I'm right here. I've got a vision of where I want to go, and every single day I'm trying to move the ball down the field a little bit. So that's my way too long-winded tale of my background. But that's what Brian asked me to talk about. He said, well, look, you're venturing into these entrepreneurial waters. What have you learned, and what can you share? Here's what I've learned, and then I promise I'm going to jump to the much more interesting part of all this. But what I've learned is, in terms of working for, look, I worked for Tribune Broadcasting. I worked for Local TV. Local TV was a $2.7 billion company that was run like a family-run business. And I worked for somebody that had an ability to make his employees feel like when you did well, you were getting a pat on the back from your father. And when you did not do well, it was like you were disappointing your father. It's a hard thing to replicate, But that's what that's what I really took from that experience. The other major thing that I took from that experience was a $2.7 billion company that was in it for a 5-year play. They went after the best and brightest people there. They didn't care where you lived. We had a director of sales that lived down in Naples, Florida. The corporate office was in Cincinnati. The person that ran the interactive department was out of Cleveland. So the big lesson that I learned was, look, if you've got the right people, especially in today's day and age, geography is not that important. You can get on a plane. Brian's in Dubai. You can get on a plane and go wherever you want. Give them a Join Me account, which is free. Give them a cell phone. And if you've got the right people, let them go do their thing. The concept, and again, it might not work for your business. This is what I learned, and I thought it was a phenomenal thing. The concept of we need everybody under one roof where we can see if they're working and we can see what they're doing, and she's leaving at 5 minutes of 5 or whatever. The company that was a $2.7 billion company ran with a group of 4 or 5 key employees that were dispersed throughout the U.S. that all had equity in growing the business. And I think the lesson that I learned was they didn't get a 9-to-5 performance out of these people. They got tireless hours because they had a piece of equity, and they were able to operate in an environment that was very comfortable for them and where those people could thrive. So that was one thing that I really learned. I'm going to yield the floor to Byron and to Holly a little bit. And I'm going to just give background a little bit. Byron ran Channel 7 KMGH, so Byron and I competed against each other. But he was the general manager for
7 years.
For 7 years. And Holly, and I would say this if I didn't mean it, but Holly is because she's sitting right here. I would say this if I didn't mean it, but I actually do mean it. I had worked with at Fox. I think I had worked with I worked with 4 VPs of newses in my career at Fox, and whoever I worked with before at ABC. This is the best in the business. This is the absolute best in the business. Not only just from an execution standpoint, from delivering a product and all that, but just an awesome person that you want in your organization. Absolutely. And so when Brian goes, well, talk a little bit about what you learned. I learned that when you have somebody like this that has your back and you have theirs, that's invaluable. It's absolutely invaluable. Probably one of my proudest moments at Fox 31 was selling the Broncos in the Super Bowl a few years ago. That was great. It wasn't really a proud moment, but that was an awesome opportunity. What was really a proud moment was getting to work with somebody like Holly, where I came from a sales background, so I want to bastardize everything, right? I want to go sell it, sell it, sell it. Holly is tasked with running our news operation. We gotta be a little careful on some of that. She wants to grow the product and wants to make sure that we're not oversold. And those kinds of symbiotic relationships where you can really partner up with somebody and personal agendas or your departmental agendas get sort of put to the side, and you're able to work with another key department head on growing the overall property and the overall product. When you have those relationships, those are invaluable. So that's the final thing that I learned. But here's the actually much more entertaining part of the evening. We work for television stations, and the entire broadcasting industry is changing literally day by day by day. And Holly is tasked with getting viewers to watch her newscast at 9 o'clock every night. Meanwhile, content is being consumed all over the place, right? You're watching stuff on Netflix, you're watching stuff on cable, you're watching stuff on YouTube. You're doing all of this stuff. You're consuming it in much different ways. I'm getting news off of Facebook, which is a terrible thing to admit. But the demographics are changing in terms of who's watching your business, or I'm sorry, who's watching your programming, and you've got to put a good business model together to take advantage of all the audiences which are constantly shifting. What you have up here with Holly and what you have with Byron are literally two experts in the industry. Again, take my numbers out of it. You've got a lot of experience here in terms of running operations and in terms of trying to take a product in a very mature industry and sculpt it and change it and market it for a business that is changing every single day. So what I want to do is finally shut up, yield the floor to these guys, and let them just talk a little bit about how Holly is using some of her powers for good, how she's trying to remain local in a marketplace that has a lot of different challenges in terms of capturing viewers, especially in a market like Denver, where we have mountains and we have a lot of other things to do other than just tune in and watch TV all day. These are absolute experts in the field, and it's a field that's absolutely changing. But it's a powerful. They've both work in and have worked for the most powerful medium out there. My sales pitch to any new advertiser was, television's the most powerful medium. I don't care how it's getting cut up and chopped up and how there are all these new offerings. It is literally, and this is a year, and especially in Colorado, that proves it. It is a medium that elects presidents. It is. It absolutely is. I can run you through the numbers, tell you what these folks invest and what they spend to get your votes, and that's the medium that they're using, which is television. So again, I've promised it 4 times. I'm actually going to deliver on it.